Good evening and welcome to the Sleeping Zoo. Facts to fall asleep to. The story of the ostrich is a narrative of profound transformation and survival that stretches back millions of years into the heart of the Cenozoic era, where a group of birds known as the ratites began a radical departure from the avian norm. While most birds were refining the art of flight to escape predators and colonize new lands, the ancestors of the ostrich were moving in the opposite direction, reclaiming the terrestrial dominance once held by their dinosaurian predecessors. To look at an ostrich today is to see a living link to the theropod dinosaurs of the Mesozoic because their physical structure and behavioral patterns mirror the logic of the ancient giants that once walked the earth. This evolutionary lineage is defined by the loss of the keel on the breastbone, which is the bony ridge where flight muscles typically attach in flying birds. Without this keel, the ratites were liberated from the weight constraints of flight, allowing them to grow to massive proportions and develop the heavy bone structure and powerful musculature required for life on the African savanna. The divergence of the ostrich from other ratites like the emu, the cassowary, and the extinct giant moa of New Zealand represents a masterclass in biological specialization. While their cousins often sought refuge in dense forests or isolated islands, the ostrich moved into the open sunlight of the desert and the grasslands where visibility and speed became the primary currencies of survival. This shift required a total reimagining of avian anatomy, starting with the most fundamental tool of the bird, which is the foot. The ostrich is the only bird in the entire world to possess just 2 toes on each foot, a dramatic reduction from the standard 4 found in most avian species. This is not a deficiency, but a highly evolved adaptation for long-distance running and high-speed sprinting. By reducing the number of contact points with the ground, the ostrich minimizes friction and maximizes the efficiency of each stride. The larger inner toe is equipped with a massive claw that can grow to several inches in length, serving both as a traction spike during a chase and as a lethal weapon capable of disemboweling a lion with a single forward kick. The force behind that kick is one of the most remarkable statistics in the animal kingdom, as a fully grown ostrich can deliver a blow with a pressure of 2,000 pounds per square inch. This power is generated by legs that are essentially giant organic springs. The anatomy of the ostrich leg is designed to store energy within the tendons during the downward phase of a stride and release it during the upward phase, meaning the bird is partially powered by the elastic recoil of its own weight. This biomechanical efficiency allows an ostrich to maintain a steady cruising speed of 30 miles per hour for extended periods and reach top speeds of over 43 miles per hour when threatened. Their stride length is equally staggering, covering up to 16 feet in a single bound. To support this level of physical exertion, the ostrich has developed a respiratory system that far surpasses that of any mammal. They possess a series of air sacs throughout their body that allow for a continuous flow of fresh oxygen through the lungs both during inhalation and exhalation, ensuring that their muscles never starve for fuel during a high-speed pursuit. While their legs provide the power, their eyes provide the intelligence required to navigate a dangerous landscape. The eyes of an ostrich are the largest of any land vertebrate, measuring roughly 2 inches across, which is actually larger than the bird's entire brain. These massive globes are protected by long, thick eyelashes that act as dust filters in the dry desert air. Because the eyes are positioned on the sides of the head, the ostrich possesses a nearly 360-degree field of vision, allowing them to detect the slight movement of a predator on the horizon from several miles away. This visual acuity is paired with a brain that, while small, is highly specialized for pattern recognition and rapid decision-making. The apparent simplicity of the ostrich is often used as a point of humor, but from a survival standpoint, their cognitive architecture is perfectly scaled to their environment. They do not need to solve complex puzzles or build tools because their primary challenges are distance and detection, both of which they have mastered through millions of years of selective pressure. This mastery of the environment extends to the cellular level, particularly when examining the thermodynamics of their survival in the harsh African heat. Unlike mammals, which rely on sweating to cool down, the ostrich utilizes a combination of behavioral and physiological tactics to maintain a stable internal temperature. Their wings, though useless for flight, serve as massive thermal radiators. By lifting and vibrating their wings, the ostrich can expose the bare skin of their thighs and flanks, allowing heat to escape through convection. They also utilize a process called gular fluttering, which involves rapidly vibrating the throat tissues to increase evaporation from the moist linings of the mouth and throat. This is a highly efficient way to shed heat without losing excessive amounts of water, which is a precious commodity in the desert. Their kidneys are equally specialized for water conservation, producing highly concentrated uric acid to ensure that every drop of moisture is extracted before waste is expelled from the body. The reproductive biology of the ostrich is perhaps the most complex social system in the bird world, characterized by a communal nesting strategy that is both egalitarian and ruthlessly hierarchical. At the center of this system is the major hen, who is the primary female in a territory and the dominant male. However, the male may mate with several other minor hens, who all deposit their eggs into a single communal nest, which is essentially a shallow scrape in the dirt. This nest can eventually hold up to 60 eggs, though usually only about 20 are viable for incubation. The major hen has the remarkable ability to recognize her own eggs by their unique paw patterns and shell texture. She will often push the eggs of the minor hens to the outer edges of the nest, where they are more likely to be taken by predators acting as a sacrificial buffer to protect her own offspring. The eggs themselves are marvels of natural engineering, representing the largest single cells in the world. A single ostrich egg can weigh over 3 pounds and is strong enough to support the weight of a full-grown human due to its thick calcium carbonate shell, which is pitted with microscopic pores that allow the developing embryo to breathe while preventing excessive moisture loss. The myth that ostriches bury their heads in the sand to hide from danger is one of the most enduring fallacies in natural history, but the reality is far more interesting and rooted in practical survival. When an ostrich senses a threat that it cannot outrun, it will often press its long neck and head flat against the ground, attempting to blend in with the low mounds of the savanna. From a distance, the body of the bird looks like a large rock or a bush, and the head appears to have vanished. Furthermore, during the incubation process, the adults must frequently reach into the nest to turn the eggs with their beaks to ensure even heating. Because the nest is a pit in the ground, it can appear to an observer that the bird is burying its head. This behavior is a sign of parental dedication rather than cowardice. At night, the roles shift with the male, taking over the incubation duties. His black plumage provides perfect camouflage in the darkness, while the female's drab brown feathers blend in with the earth during the daylight hours. This alternating shift is a high-stakes game of hide and seek that ensures the nest is never left unguarded from the jackals and vultures that roam the plains. The relationship between humans and the ostrich stretches back to the dawn of civilization, where the bird was viewed with a mixture of awe and utility. In ancient Egypt, the ostrich feather was a symbol of divine order and justice. The goddess Mat was often depicted wearing a single ostrich feather on her head or holding one in her hand. During the weighing of the heart ceremony, it was believed that the heart of the deceased would be placed on a scale against the feather of truth. If the heart was heavier than the feather due to a life of sin, the soul would be consumed. This choice of symbol was not accidental, as the symmetry of the ostrich feather, where the veins on either side of the quill are of equal length, was seen as a perfect representation of balance and cosmic harmony. Beyond the spiritual, the physical remains of the ostrich were highly prized. Empty ostrich eggshells were used as canteen-like containers and ornate bowls throughout Mesopotamia and Carthage. They were often carved with intricate designs or encased in gold and silver, serving as prestige items that were traded across the ancient world. As we move into the classical era, the ostrich became a fixture of the Roman Colosseum, where they were imported by the thousands to satisfy the public appetite for exotic spectacles. They were often used in staged hunts, or even forced to pull chariots in displays of Roman engineering over nature. This period marked the beginning of a long history of human exploitation that reached its peak in the 19th century, during the era of feather fever. In the Victorian and Edwardian periods, ostrich plumes became the ultimate fashion accessory for the European elite adorned hats, fans, and boas. The demand was so high that it led to the establishment of massive ostrich farms in South Africa, and the United States effectively saving the species from the brink of extinction by turning them into a valuable agricultural commodity. This economic shift transformed the ostrich from a wild enigma into a managed resource, leading to a deeper understanding of their biology and the development of sustainable farming practices that continue to this day. The structural integrity of the ostrich egg is a feat of biological engineering that deserves an even closer examination at the microscopic level, because it serves as the primary fortress for the developing life within. The shell is composed almost entirely of calcite, which is a crystalline form of calcium carbonate, but it is the arrangement of these crystals that provides the legendary strength. The shell is organized into 3 distinct layers, starting with the inner mammillary layer, which provides the foundation for the thick palisade layer above it. This middle layer consists of vertical columns of calcite that are tightly packed to resist external pressure, allowing the shell to withstand the weight of a sitting adult bird that can exceed 300 pounds. On the very surface lies a thin organic cuticle that acts as a primary barrier against bacteria and dust. Distributed across this surface are thousands of microscopic respiratory pores, which are wider at the base than at the surface. These pores are the lungs of the egg, allowing for a precisely regulated exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. The rate of gas diffusion is so finely tuned that it accounts for the high metabolic rate of the growing chick, while preventing the internal fluids from evaporating too quickly in the arid heat of the African plains. Inside this calcium fortress, the development of the ostrich embryo is a rapid journey from a single cell to a fully functional 10-pound chick in just 42 days. This process requires a massive amount of energy, which is supplied by a yolk that is richer in lipids and proteins than that of almost any other bird. As the chick nears the end of its incubation, it begins a process known as internal pipping, where it pierces the inner membrane of the air cell at the blunt end of the egg. This is the first time the chick breathes air using its own lungs, and the sudden rush of oxygen triggers a surge of strength. To break through the thick shell, the chick lacks an egg tooth, which is common in many other bird species. Instead, the ostrich chick uses its powerful legs and a specialized muscle in its neck to exert pressure against the shell until it cracks. Once hatched, the chicks are precocial, meaning they are born with their eyes open, covered in a thick downy coat, and capable of walking and feeding themselves within hours. This early independence is a necessary adaptation for a life spent on the move where the threat of predation is constant and the search for food is never-ending. The visual system that guides these birds throughout their lives is a masterpiece of evolutionary optics that functions far differently than the human eye. Because an ostrich eye is so large, the focal length is significantly longer than in most vertebrates, which creates a naturally magnified image on the retina. The retina itself is packed with a high density of photoreceptor cells, particularly cones, which allow for exceptional color vision and high-resolution detail. An ostrich can distinguish the slight color variations in grass and seeds from great distances, and can track the movement of a predator like a cheetah, even when it is just a speck on the horizon. Their eyes are also equipped with a nictitating membrane, which is a third eyelid that moves horizontally across the eye. This clear membrane allows the bird to maintain vision while simultaneously cleaning and moistening the ocular surface, which is vital during high-speed runs through dust storms. The sheer volume of visual data processed by the ostrich is so immense that their optic nerves are among the thickest in the avian world, and the sensory input is the primary driver of their behavioral responses. To fuel a body of such massive proportions and maintain the energy required for 40-mile-per-hour sprints, the ostrich has developed a digestive system that is a model of efficiency and volume. Being omnivores with a heavy preference for plant matter, they lack teeth, and therefore must rely on a specialized organ called the gizzard to mechanically break down their food. An ostrich will intentionally swallow small stones and pebbles known as gastroliths, which sit in the gizzard and act as internal millstones. As the powerful muscles of the gizzard contract, the stones grind tough plant fibers and seeds into a digestible paste. The ostrich digestive tract is exceptionally long, extending over 40 feet in length, which provides a massive surface area for nutrient absorption. This length is particularly important for the fermentation of cellulose, which occurs in the large ceca. Here, symbiotic bacteria break down the complex carbohydrates found in desert scrub and dry grasses, turning them into fatty acids that the bird can use for energy. This ability to extract nutrition from poor-quality forage is what allows the ostrich to thrive in environments where other large herbivores would starve. The respiratory architecture of the ostrich is equally specialized for life in the extremes of the desert. While mammals use a diaphragm to pull air into the lungs in a two-way tidal system, the ostrich utilizes a one-way flow system aided by a complex network of 9 air sacs. These sacs act like bellows, pushing air through the lungs in a continuous stream. This means that even while the bird is exhaling, the lungs are still receiving a fresh supply of oxygen. This system is not only superior for gas exchange, but also plays a critical role in thermoregulation. During periods of extreme heat, the ostrich can bypass the gas exchange areas of the lungs and move air, primarily through the air sacs, to facilitate evaporative cooling, without causing respiratory alkalosis, which is a dangerous shift in blood chemistry that occurs when mammals pant too heavily. This respiratory efficiency is what allows the ostrich to remain active during the hottest parts of the day when most other animals are forced into the shade to survive. The social dynamics of the ostrich are governed by a sophisticated language of postures and vocalizations that often go unnoticed by the casual observer. While they are famous for their deep booming roar, which can easily be mistaken for a lion, the ostrich also utilizes a series of hisses, chirps, and snorts to communicate within the herd. The booming sound is produced primarily by the males during the mating season, using an inflated neck pouch that acts as a resonance chamber. This sound can travel for several miles across the open savanna, acting as a territorial marker and an advertisement to potential mates. During courtship, The male performs an elaborate dance known as cantling, where he drops to his knees and rhythmically swings his massive wings while swaying his head from side to side. The white feathers of the wings and tail flash against his black body, creating a high-contrast visual signal that is impossible to miss. If the female is impressed, she will respond by bowing her head and fluttering her wings, signifying her acceptance of the match. As the 21st century progresses, the ostrich has found a new role in the global economy as a champion of sustainable agriculture. Because they are highly efficient at converting feed into protein and require significantly less water and land than traditional livestock like cattle, they are increasingly viewed as a viable solution for food security in a changing climate. Ostrich meat is prized for being a lean red meat that is low in cholesterol and fat, while being high in iron, making it a favorite among health-conscious consumers. Furthermore, every part of the bird is utilized in a zero-waste model. The leather produced from ostrich skin is world-renowned for its durability and unique quill pattern, making it one of the most expensive and sought-after skins in the luxury fashion industry. Even the oil rendered from ostrich fat is utilized in the cosmetic and pharmaceutical industries for its high concentration of omega fatty acids and its ability to penetrate deep into the skin to promote healing. The modern conservation status of the ostrich varies between the different subspecies, with the common ostrich being relatively stable, while the North African ostrich faces significant challenges due to habitat loss and hunting. Efforts are underway to reintroduce these birds to their historical ranges in countries like Morocco and Tunisia, where they once roamed in vast numbers. These conservation programs rely on the birds' inherent resilience and their high reproductive potential to rebuild populations. The Somali ostrich, which is distinguished by its blue neck and legs, is also a focus of specific conservation interest, as it represents a unique genetic branch of the family tree that has adapted to the distinct ecology of the Horn of Africa. Protecting these birds is not just about saving a single species, but about preserving a biological lineage that has survived for tens of millions of years through some of the most dramatic shifts in the history of the planet. The legacy of the ostrich is a testament to the power of specialized evolution. They are birds that have mastered the earth, rather than the sky, turning the disadvantage of flightlessness into a series of terrestrial triumphs. From the mechanical perfection of their two-toed stride to the optical brilliance of their massive eyes, every aspect of their biology is tuned to the rhythm of the open plains. They are the last of the titans, a remnant of a time when giants walked the earth, and their continued presence in the wild is a reminder of the extraordinary diversity of life. As they continue to navigate the challenges of the modern world, the ostrich remains an icon of endurance and a living bridge between the deep past and the uncertain future of the natural world. Their story is far from over, and as we continue to study their complex physiology and social structures, we find that there is always more to learn from the bird that refused to fly and instead chose to run toward the horizon. Thank you, and good night.